chat with Carl about the new parts, and we're happy that they've been integrated into the car okay. With any luck, you'll be able to feel the improvement, so give them a try.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2019 Career Mode Season 2 Round 4, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And as an added bonus for this one, as of the day I'm recording this, I have been on YouTube for 1 whole year. So let's hope we can celebrate that milestone with a decent race today. We've got upgrades on the car, a major engine upgrade, so that should go some way in making up for our massive loss, or our massively underpowered engine, but I'm not sure if we'll see that on the R&D chart, but we do stretch away from the rest of the field. No one else in the front pack really upgrading too much. The other upgrades we had were on the durability side, so they won't show up on the chart, but they're still important nonetheless. But anyway, let's get into qualifying, and we'll see just how these new upgrades can help us out.
Welcome to qualifying in the Republic of Azerbaijan. The teams are making their last-minute adjustments before the lights go green, and the fight for pole position can get underway. It always looked like the kind of track that asks an awful lot of the rear tyres, such as the frequency of low-speed exits.
No matter how good a driver is at managing their throttle application to limit rear slip, they can't always overcome a car that's inherently bad at looking after its rear tyres. Here we have a lot of low-speed corner exits, which means a whole load of energy, heat and tyre wear.
Alright, so we move straight on to the end of Q1, getting through a formality as ever these days. P12 though, so the pace isn't great in this first session. Charles Leclerc showing that our underpowered engine isn't going to hold us back too much around this circuit, with topping the first session. Remember, he won here last year in the Ferrari, but Robert Kubica, George Russell, Danny Kvyat, Kimi Räikkönen and Antonio Giovinazzi knocked out from back to front, but no real surprises there. The Alfa Romeos, Toro Rossos and the Williams, not particularly fast cars, and indeed Albon only just getting through there. So yeah, no real surprises in Q1 until you look at the race director, and you'll see that both Kimi Räikkönen and Charles Leclerc have grid penalties. Kimi Räikkönen for a collision with Max Verstappen, and Charles Leclerc for a collision with Gasly. So something going on there. I didn't actually catch what happened, but yeah, there was some kind of incident obviously in qualifying, and some grid penalties have been handed out, so Räikkönen will likely start from the back of the grid. Leclerc obviously tops the second session as well, as you can see there, showing great pace in this one. But Lucas Weber knocked out, as well as Lewis Hamilton, Daniel Ricciardo, Kevin Magnussen and Alexander Albon knocked out in Q2, and this time there are no penalties for anyone, but Charles Leclerc will need to take I think 5 grid spots off of wherever he gets in this Q3 session. So we move on halfway through our first lap in Q3, and we'll see the closing half of this lap, just getting through the castle section there, and now towards the end of the second sector through my least favourite corner on this circuit, getting through there pretty well on that occasion. And that corner is so unsatisfying sometimes. You might go through there, 100 times, and 99 times you'll think you could have done it better. And I guess that is one thing to get used to on this circuit. But anyway, we are now on the home straight, this massively long straight, DRS open towards the finish line to set our first lap of the Q3 session, and across the line, and we sit currently in the
We've only got 2 laps of fuel left.
third position, so we're going to go again on another lap. So we will do that, and you can see we're already green in the top right, so finding time, and we'll need to, if we want to qualify on the front row. Hopefully we can continue the strong form we've had in qualifying so far. The racing, not so much, but all through the end of last season and the start of this season we've had really good qualifyings, with the exception of Bahrain when we didn't get our final lap in. It's been a really strong part of our title attack this year, but still plenty of racing to go as we head through the castle section and getting through there pretty cleanly and not messing up the chicane immediately afterwards, which is something I quite often do. And now to the end of the second sector, just about getting through that awkward left-hander, and now there is just one corner to go and everything else is pretty easy, just flat out corners and the run to the finish line. So through this left-right chicane was very tricky in Season 1, but Season 2 easy flat. The line there wasn't the best, but even so it shouldn't cost us too much through a flat-out corner. So as we head towards the finish line, where are we going to qualify for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix?
Fantastic. You've got
Pole position. Nice.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. The scientist, Vettel and Charles Leclerc. With qualifying wrapped up, we now have our grid lineup for the big race tomorrow. Be sure to join us then for what will no doubt be a fantastic race.
So, pole position from Sebastian Vettel. Charles Leclerc qualifies third, but he'll drop behind Verstappen, Perez, Bottas, Stroll, and probably Gasly as well, I would assume. Then it will be Devon Butler and Lando Norris rounding out the top 10. Another good qualifying from Devon Butler, getting that Haas car into the top 10. And, well, actually Gasly even better. So, yeah, actually both of the Haas's doing a decent job. Lando Norris struggling in the McLaren. Lucas Weber not even in the top 10. So McLaren not showing the pace that the performance charts promise from them. So maybe their cars are going to be stronger through the corners. We'll have to see when we get to the race. So let's get into it.
And a warm welcome to you from Azadlik Square, heart of Baku and home, of course, to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. With high speeds, tight corners and few runoff zones, many are expecting a safety car here today, so our drivers will have to stay very much on their toes and hopefully away from the barriers. Baku City Circuit then, an unpredictable 3.7-mile track around the streets of the Azerbaijan capital. 20 turns for our drivers to navigate today, including the infamous Turn 8, one of the tightest and most challenging corners of the season. And it's an absolute pleasure to be joined once again by Anthony Davidson. Why don't we discuss McLaren? We have a number of changes to the aerodynamic regulations this year, and the signs haven't looked good for them so far in terms of getting to grips with those changes.
There are a few downcast looks within the team this weekend. I think they've been hit fairly hard by the new regs. But this is only the first step down a long road of development, and even if they don't maximise their points today, there are plenty more up for grabs this season.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. The scientist lines up on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Perez, Pierre Gasly and Leclerc. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Butler, Norris, Weber and Kevin Magnussen. Albon, Giovinazzi, Valtteri Bottas and Stroll. Kvyat, Russell, Robert Kubica and Kimi Räikkönen. Hamilton and Daniel Ricciardo fills the last spot on the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
That would be a good minimum. Hopefully we will score points. I'd be very surprised if we did not. But looking at the strategy, we get offered two different two-stops, either soft to two sets of mediums or softs to mediums to hards, which is a bit unusual to be suggesting the hards. I don't think...
Keep an eye on the lights. The start sequence will begin as soon as the grid has formed. Be ready with the clutch.
I don't think the hards will be the one, so we will ignore that strategy for now, as we get ready and go to the 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and it's a decent start for us, and we're going to lead the way through the first corner, leave the window open just in case there was a Ferrari down the inside, but it's not going to happen. And we go on board with Sergio Perez, who's had a great start from 4th place down the inside of Sebastian Vettel, and a bit of contact between the 2 Ferraris, but it looks like Sergio Perez is going to get ahead in that battle, but all the time that they're side by side through the first 2 corners, I'm able to get away and give myself a little bit of an air gap back to them, and hopefully we can break out of the slipstream and DRS range, because obviously our car is not going to be as quick in a straight line, so that will be very, very important for us to try to break the tow along the massive front straight we have here in Azerbaijan. So I need to absolutely nail this middle sector of the circuit, but it's a good start so far for this race, and hopefully we can just continue this form.
Perez is behind you.
And Sergio Perez is indeed the car behind. Lance Stroll and Valtteri Bottas both got grid penalties at the start of this race, so Charles Leclerc actually got 2 free positions back from his penalty because of that, and only started in 6th rather than 8th position where he would have otherwise started. And as you can see there, Sergio Perez goes flying past in that Ferrari. No competition there really for us. He's just had the straight line speed advantage, and there really wasn't anything I could do. So nice work there from Sergio Perez, and we can't really fight back at this point. You can see we're struggling for traction there as we had to pause the game briefly, but yeah, just really not quite having the pace of Sergio Perez at the moment. Obviously last season he was our teammate here, and we had the same thing. We just didn't have the same pace that he had, as we almost binned the car into the wall. Sebastian Vettel right behind us now, but we're going to cover the inside and make sure he can't make that move into
Set the ERS mode to overtake. We have to push
the middle sector, and we keep Sebastian Vettel behind, but it's only a matter of time. Hora's going to come back at us once again along the main straight.
Race officials have enabled DRS. DRS is now available.
And we're only now getting onto the 3rd lap when DRS is available. Sergio Perez has stormed off into the distance, and we are struggling to keep Sebastian Vettel behind, but he got a pretty bad exit out of turn 2, so I think we'll be safe here as we head towards turn 3, and it looks like we'll be able to hold the position there, and using every single millimeter of road through turn 3. And you can see I am just struggling for grip at the moment. Sebastian Vettel getting very impatient behind me, and he will be looking for a path to get through very, very soon. Bit of a mistake there as we head through the 2nd sector, but we move on. Sebastian Vettel down the inside as we head towards the 1st corner, and trying to outbrake him around the outside, and we do that. We get all the way around the outside of Sebastian Vettel. That is a nice move, but
we're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the mediums.
as we continue through this race, Vettel continues to just sit right behind us, never quite making the move to overtake, but he's very much in the game here for 2nd position. Sergio Perez is absolutely gone. He has flown off into the distance, and I'm not sure we'll ever see him again in this race unless there is a safety car, or we get some good luck with our strategy. But Sergio Perez is loving life at the moment, and we just don't have the same pace that the Ferraris do at this point. But we've got the track position over Sebastian Vettel, and we are always able to make enough of a gap through the castle section and the last sector that he can't overtake us along this main straight. But one mistake and he flies straight past, as he has done just there. And we're going to have a look down the inside. Vettel locks up and maintains the position ahead of us, and that was a nice move by Sebastian Vettel, just about keeping the car under control with the wheels locked there. I thought for sure he was going to run wide, with that lockup, but he kept it under control and kept the car on the road. We're going to come back at him here, and we're going to have a look down the inside. Not close enough there as we head into turn 3. That is a very risky place to go for an overtake from the distance back that we were. So it's back to just sitting behind Vettel, and hopefully we can sit close enough through the middle sector that we'll get the DRS. But a mistake there might ruin that plan, and we'll have to start worrying about the car behind us soon. That's Lucas Weber, and as we move on, Lucas is going to go to the right hand side, down the right hand side as we head into turn 3, and we're going to close that door. You're not going to get around there too easily, and he has to back out of the overtake. But we've lost focus on Sebastian Vettel, and now it's Lucas Weber that is very much putting the pressure on, and he has absolutely flown through the field. He was not in the top 10 shootout, remember, so...
Okay, this set of tyres is pretty much spent, I think. You should be able to bring a bit more out, but it won't be long before they fall away from you entirely.
It has been a brilliant race by Lucas Weber so far, from starting outside the top 10, but into the pits we go. At the end of our first stint, we'll get rid of these soft tyres, put the mediums on, and that will set us up for a bit of an undercut on the cars around us, and hopefully that will save our race
Complete, go now.
a little bit, because right now we just do not have the pace of the cars around us. So
We'll be doing one more stop today. One stop left in our strategy.
out of the pits we come, and we'll see where this race unfolds, and where we come out relative to the other cars around us when they make their pit stop. But as we head into the castle section, we catch up to Alexander Albon in the Toro Rosso, one of the slowest cars.
The car behind has boxed for the mediums. Car behind on the medium tyre.
One of the slowest cars in the field. The car behind us is Gasly, and he was a fair way behind us when we come in, so that's not going to tell us too much about where we re-emerge. But we really need to get past Albon, and he's holding us up with not so much with the dirty air, just as a bit of a distraction, and we'll hopefully be able to make a move along the straight. But the Toro Rosso seems pretty quick out of that S section there, so we're going to sit in the slipstream, DRS open, as someone pulls off into the pit lane there on the left side, and Albon does not pit, so we will have to make this overtake at some point on Albon, and hopefully it can be sooner rather than later, because it will be an issue if we can't get it done. But we go to the inside as we head towards turn 3 on lap 13, and we get that move done pretty simply, and we can get on with our day now. So a few mistakes as we were following him, which cost us some time, but thankfully.
Verstappen ahead. They're on old softs. Their tyres are 12 laps old. We think they've got 2 stops remaining. The time last lap was a 1:46.4. Gap to car in front is 2.2 seconds.
We've got some clear air ahead of us now to Verstappen, who is yet to make a pit stop, and as we move on further through the race, it's actually Hamilton that is up ahead. So Hamilton has had an up and down season so far. He was second in Australia, was a contender in Bahrain. China was abysmal for Hamilton, finishing well down the order. So he'll be looking to try to get his season back on track. But right now he is sitting in 6th place, yet to stop. And I'm sitting in 7th with 1 stop next to my name at the moment. And we're still waiting to see where we re-emerge compared to everyone else. They're running very long in this first stint, which is slightly concerning, and it makes me think they have a lot better tyre wear than I do, and I'm hoping that no one's on a 1-stop. But Hamilton goes in to the pits as with a bunch of other cars, and as we round the first corner we find ourselves up in 2nd position behind Perez.
Place.
So
At the moment, the car behind us is lapping faster than us by around 1 second per lap.
as we continue through this race, we do get that position back off of Vettel with the undercut, so that is very important for us. But unfortunately Vettel has the pace at the moment. He's on soft tyres, so that explains why they are extending the first stint so much, and just like he did the first time around. He blazes past on the softer compound, and there's nothing we can really do about it. Vettel just has the better speed on those tyres. Now Lucas Weber looking left and right to find a way through, but we're going to cover that off as we head through the middle sector and keep Lucas Weber behind for now. But if we do not get this last sector right, he'll be all over us by the time we get to the straight, and there might not be much of a defence that we can make. You can see the gap that Vettel's got already. It's not massive, but you can just see the sort of difference in cornering
Battery
speed.
charge is high. Let's increase ERS deployment to up the pace.
That will help us if we can deploy a bit more battery power, and that was definitely something that affected our pace a lot around this circuit, was how much battery that we could deploy, and that will come into things a bit later on. But we actually kept up with Vettel okay, and hopefully we'll be able to hold on to the DRS as we head on to the back straight, or the front straight, sorry, and hopefully the DRS will help us keep Lucas Weber behind. So let's see how that goes. We will get the DRS open and sit in the slipstream of Sebastian Vettel. If we can get any slipstream at all back here, we're going to try, but it is not Sebastian Vettel that we have to worry about at this point. It is Lucas Weber, who got close but not close enough by the end of the first straight. And here we're looking to get a good exit here out of turn 2, but that was not to be.
Okay, we've got plenty of energy. Switch to overtake and have a go.
On that occasion. But moving on later in the race again, and you can see we are still just about holding on to the back of Sebastian Vettel as we just about make it through the S section there, heading onto the straight. But this time Lucas Weber has got a good run as we check out a slight bit of damage that we've got on the front wing. Dive down the outside of Weber as he's trying to go down the inside, run wide, and Weber gets a position, and we are very lucky not to run the car into the wall just there. So Lucas Weber up onto the podium now, and I do believe that Weber is yet to score a podium, but we're going to try to come back at him. We've got to run, we're going to have a look to the inside. He's going to defend all the way. We go to the outside, and Weber moves back across. We'll switch back to the inside, but that'll become the outside for this next right hand, and we're not going to go there. And Weber has the line and now has the position. So Lucas Weber up onto the podium at this point, but we'll see if he can hold on to it for the rest of the race. But he is looking very, very quick in that McLaren. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes ahead and tries to attack Sebastian Vettel
Perez is out in front
for second place. Perez, though, is unstoppable. He is absolutely flying, and there is no catching him today in the Ferrari. He gained a lot of time with all the battling behind for second and third position that we did, but even so, he has been very, very rapid. And now it is Charles Leclerc behind us, putting the pressure on, and we're not going to hold up our teammate. We're just going to let him past, and he can get on with his day. I'll get on with mine. He's on the softer compounded tyres as well, so it seems like I'm one of the only people running the medium tyres at the moment, and that's really affected this middle stint. But hopefully we'll be able to get that back in the final stint with maybe another undercut, or I don't know what to do at this point. But the strategy is just not working out for us. These medium tyres are just not fast enough to compete with the softs, even though the softs should be starting to wear out. At this point we just don't have enough of an edge at this point in the race.
Charles is in the pits.
And we do not actually
We're approaching the pit window. You'll be on the mediums.
get an opportunity to undercut, because with the soft tyre strategy, the last stint is actually quite long, and that is well, a few laps longer than what ours would be anyway. So
Understood. Stopping this lap.
that was weird, but eventually we do get our turn to come into the pit lane and get our final set of tyres on the car. There's not really a lot of action around us at this point. We've got a bit of airspace in both directions, so
Go, go, go.
old tyres off, new tyres on, decent stop. and back onto the circuit. We'll
Up
re-emerge
to speed now. Let's get some heat into those tyres.
in a lot cleaner air this time. Piles of space around us, so it's just us on the track, and we need to push to see if we can do anything at all to catch the cars ahead. But as we move on, we are still in 6th position, 5th position as Gasly makes his final stop. He was one of the only other cars doing the 2 sets of mediums in the middle and final stint. So
Gap to teammate ahead is 6.1 seconds.
yeah, that hasn't worked out too well for us on the strategy, nor has it for Gasly.
Weber is ahead of you. They're on fresh mediums. Their tyres are 6 laps old. The time last lap was a 1 minute 44.3. You're losing around 7/10 a lap.
But Lucas Weber isn't too far ahead. We did lose a lot of time on that last lap, but there was potentially some mistakes. So if we really push, we could potentially catch up to Lucas Weber now that we're on the same tyres. So we just need to get the head down, and we will see how that goes, and we'll check in with the time intervals to see if we can catch up to Lucas Weber. So let's go.
The gap to the car ahead is 6.6 seconds, 7.0 seconds, 6.2 seconds, 6.0 seconds, 6.5 seconds, 6.2 seconds, 5.3 seconds, 5.0 seconds, 6.6 seconds.
And that was basically the story of the race. We were able to catch up sometimes, and then he would just pull away again. We just didn't have the consistency to catch up to him really, and a few mistakes on this lap really just cost us a lot, and yeah, we never got within 5 seconds, so yeah, not much chance of overtaking Lucas Weber in this one, unfortunately. But I think if we really got our laps together and we didn't have that slight bit of damage to the front wing,
We have 5 laps of fuel remaining.
we probably could stand a chance at catching up to Lucas, but it just is not to be today, and unfortunately not to be for Lucas either, because he's sitting in 4th position, which means Leclerc has overtaken him for the last spot on the podium. So that's a good effort from Leclerc. Remember, Leclerc won this race last year, I do believe, but all that's almost bottling it heading into the castle section, and Lewis Hamilton now is right behind us. So in the last few laps, a few mistakes have occurred.
There's 4 laps of fuel remaining.
And
P5, you're in P5. Weber is ahead of you. Okay, gap ahead is 7.7 seconds. They're on all mediums. Hamilton behind. The gap behind us is 1.0 seconds. They're on all mediums. That was our last stop. No more scheduled pit stops. 5 laps till the end. Our gap to the car in front is 8.3 seconds.
And yeah, just continuing to make a lot of mistakes just like that. And Lucas Weber's just getting further and further ahead. But we're going to give up on that topic and worry about Lewis Hamilton, who's going down the inside as we head towards the first corner. We're going to send it around the outside. It's worked before on Vettel and Weber, and it works on Hamilton right around the outside of the first corner. And there's nothing Hamilton can do on that occasion, and we hold the position with only a limited number of laps to go now in this race, just 4. And
Perez is out in front.
we are currently holding down 5th position ahead of Hamilton. Perez still just in a different postcode to everyone else. It's absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, as we move on again to another lap, Lewis Hamilton coming back at us once again. Devin Butler is getting involved as well. We're going to take the inside this time and cover him
There's
off.
3 laps of fuel remaining.
Just 3 laps to go left in this race. Hamilton and Butler very close behind me as well, and Hamilton gets a dreadful exit out of turn 2.
This is your final lap of the race.
And as we now move on to the final lap, running wide through the first corner, immediately going to cover off the inside line. We actually got a bit of a gap to Hamilton and Butler through the previous laps as they battled away briefly, but they've sorted themselves out and are on the attack once again. but there is no opportunity into turn 3 on this occasion as we head through turn 3 and just about get away with it there. But
Perez is in first place.
Perez still in the lead and looking very, very likely, almost certain now, to take the win here in Azerbaijan, and that would be a very, very nice first race win for him if he can bring it home. So as we head through the castle section for the final time, we just need to keep it on the track. And here is Sergio Perez as he heads out of the final corner and along the very long main straight, and he is going to come across the line to win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix and take his first race win for Ferrari and get his title challenge back on track, back on board with myself through this left-hander, absolutely nailing it on the final lap of the race. And Hamilton drops off the back of us massively through that corner. He was potentially fighting with Butler, but we're going to come across the line for P5.
Okay, pick up rubber and bring it home.
Thank you very much. A tough race, but a decent drive nonetheless, I think.
Ferrari have really pulled it out of the bag today. It's a great win. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Here come our winners now. A thrilling race and a tremendous effort by Ferrari. Their history is well known, so it's no surprise to fans the world over to see them come out on top once again.
So Sergio Perez once again showing his prowess at the Azerbaijan circuit. Charles Leclerc brings home P2 for the Racing Point team. Sebastian Vettel makes it a double podium for Ferrari.
So let's review the updated driver's standings. This result narrows the gap between our championship leader and the rest of the standings. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Anthony Davidson, who do you pick?
Well, for me, it's got to be Lewis Hamilton. The multiple world champion may be the boring choice at this point, but you can't argue that he's a driver deserving of his reputation.
It's time to check out the constructors' standings. The lead at the top comes down after a strong weekend from the challenging pack. Meanwhile, a strong weekend from Red Bull this time out, and they improve their position in the championship. Well, Ants, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Alright, thanks Crofty. So let's take a look at the highlights as we have a talk about this race. So nice work from Hamilton to make the most of a bad qualifying, and in the end only finishing right behind us, and we started on the pole and got away well for us as the Ferraris battled behind, but we just didn't have the outright pace of the Ferraris. And it was moments like that we just picked up a slight amount of damage on the front wing, and I think that had a minor effect on our pace throughout the race, as well as just not having the same consistency that Sergio Perez particularly had today. He was in a league of his own, Sergio Perez. All the battling between myself, Vettel, Weber at the start really helped him get away, and yeah, there was no catching him from that moment onwards. But a surprisingly quiet race from Mercedes. I think they finished 10th and 11th for Bottas and Stroll. So after a decent enough qualifying and getting a grid penalty for both of them, they were actually in a decent position for a while. I noticed partway through that race, Lance Stroll was not far behind me just before the second round of pit stops. So yeah, very unusual to see how far back that they dropped back. But anyway, that is the way that unfolded for them on this occasion. But for us, Azerbaijan, it probably just isn't the best circuit for me, and that's probably just where the pace was Charles Leclerc showed that the car had very good pace, and we had the pace in qualifying, but just not in the race, and that is very quickly becoming a theme. We saw it in Russia and Abu Dhabi last year as well. But anyway, let's get into the interviews if we have any.
Amazing performance out there. I'm sure you're pretty happy with that. That was a good race for Lucas. Are you pleased to see him doing well?
Yeah, it's about time for him really. He's showed some good pace, and he was really able to come through the field very well today, and it was a very, very impressive drive from him.
You and Lucas weren't far apart by the finish. Do you enjoy racing against him?
Yeah, I do. He's a really fast driver, very clean driver, and it's always a pleasure to race wheel to wheel with a driver like that. And I'm glad to see the car is improving as well, so he can compete more often.
You had a close battle today, didn't you?
Yeah, we did. It was very close at the end there, but we just managed to come out on top.
Do you think you were lucky not to end your race with that crash? Great. Well, that's everything.
Thanks, Claire. Alright, so that brings the weekend of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix to a close, and we can now focus on the next round in Spain. We'll get a bunch of resource points. We'll get the bonus 600 points for the team objective, whatever that was, but I'm pretty sure we achieved it. There we go, on the screen now. And the reputation the world loves us. We are.
That's a great result. You did really well. I don't think we can have any complaints with that performance.
Thanks, Jeff. Alright, so new contract time, and we should be able to do just about whatever we want here. So we're going to go for maximum on everything, and see what the team think of that. Our car is very fast. We've been very fast and consistent. We are currently expected P7, so let's see.
They didn't like those turns. Let's try again.
No, they didn't like that, but I did ask for literally everything.
Okay, that proposal looks good. It seems all parties are happy with the deal, so it'll commence the next race weekend.
So yeah, we raised the expectations and they loved it. So P5, I think that's pretty much achievable around most circuits for us. Azerbaijan was set to be one of our worst, and we managed a P5 here just about, and you can see there working on the engine side of things, a bit more power for us coming in for the next round in Spain. That should be a circuit that suits our car a lot more. There is a pretty long front straight, so power will still be important there, but the third sector particularly should very much suit our car, and I am loving having a car that is quick in the corners, very easy to follow the other cars if you've got just a genuine cornering advantage over the other cars, and it was really helpful in that department compared to last season's car where we were fast on the straights. It made overtaking very easy in most cases, but it was very difficult to follow closely behind another car when you just don't have the downforce. But anyway, thank you very much for watching this episode, and I'll see you for the next one in Spain. Goodbye.
Are you okay? That was a big one. Confirm you're okay, please.